You guys are going to see a pissed off MoistCr1TiKaL today. Some terrible news over this past weekend as Moist Esports has been forced to let go their entire Apex Legends roster ahead of a major event going down in the US because, well, they couldn't compete in the US under the name Moist Esports, an ongoing issue we talked about months ago that's been ongoing, I believe, for a handful of months between Charlie and the US Immigration Office, who apparently will not let his players actually have visas to compete in the US under the Moist Esports flags. Again, something we talked about weeks and weeks ago that is such a prolonged issue. He has now been forced to do the unthinkable, dropping the entire team just so they can actually visit the US to compete in this tournament.
You wanted us to prove that our placements were real, and we had a high-ranking EA, who, of course, they own Apex, represents that side, talk on our behalf to confirm that the placements are real. But you don't believe that that official, whom you even cite their position in this statement, actually represents them? Is actually part of the official governing body of the esport? How can you not believe them? You even cite their position in your statement, a position that constitutes an esports side. What do you mean? And then you say that the placements don't necessarily mean international reputation? What the fuck does then? How could any team possibly get into the country through this game if even the highest placements don't constitute international reputation to satisfy your criterion? It doesn't make any fucking sense. The agent here is well known in the esports scene because we've talked to numerous other orgs, and all of them have had to deal with this person, and all of them have horror stories about them. So much so that the majority of them have found ways to circumvent ever having to deal with them and going through other people. That is how bad at their job this person.
And a follow-up to that last video, he was even more pissed this time around, and he goes on to explain he thinks it's because of this one stubborn agent who they've been working back and forth with, as I've said multiple times, for months, trying to do everything they can of this original roster, who I believe was based in Australia, had to move them to Canada, which they've been staying out of, and then still cannot get them here to America, despite Moist Esports being very reputable in the esports and gaming space, MoistCr1TiKaL being very well known. Finances are definitely not an issue. Like, they really do meet most of the criteria, I would say, especially if you're comparing to all of the other esports orgs based in NA. I mean, they field plenty of rosters, they have plenty of players, they have plenty of creators and backing, and of course notoriety. They really should check off the list that every other esports team does, and still they can't get the issue resolved, to which Charlie gave the worst news possible.
And that's to cut our team. We have to release one of the best teams in the entire Apex circuit, because that's the only way they're going to be allowed in the country. They can come here as long as they're not being represented by us. As long as they are not represented by any org right now, they can come here and compete. So that's our only option, because we obviously want the best for these guys. We want them to shine at the major. So in order to do that, we have to let them go. It's like that fucking scene in Pokemon when Ash sets down the Pikachu and runs away crying. That's us. That is literally what we have to do with our team right now. We have to cut them so that way they can compete at the major. Because we're out of time. We can't resubmit again because this process is abominably fucking slow. Weeks just to get 2 sentences back from the US immigration dinosaurs, the fucking fossils that are just bones and dust in those chairs at the agency there. Like, we can't do this again because we don't have time. The major's right around the corner. So, we are officially releasing the Moist Apex squad. Unfortunately, we got the bad ending to this fucking playthrough here. And it's no fault of our own, by the way. We did everything by the books. We worked with other orgs, too.
And on top of that, if you want to talk about notoriety, Moist Esports and their Apex team just so happen to also be one of the best teams in the world currently. So it's all in all just a sucky situation. The one silver lining, I mean, I would have to imagine with their exposure, they should pretty much have all the proper connections. Last video, he also talked about they have a representative at EA who is on their side, and even that was not enough. But the silver lining being that with these viral posts around him, there have been tons of lawyers and other esports teams and other executives reaching out saying, hey, like, here's maybe what you could do. Maybe contact this person, so maybe they will be able to re-sign this roster and get them the visas that are properly needed. But it's crazy because we have not seen this kind of esports news in a long time. I mean, I can't remember the last time we reported on an esports team having to drop a roster just so the roster could actually travel to compete. So just some really sucky stuff. Hopefully does get resolved in the future. And we'll keep you guys posted on this one. Have not seen Charlie this pissed off in a long time, and we'll see what the future of Moist Esports is going to be. Till next time, take care of yourselves. Stay hydrated, all right? See you back here soon.